change. And I'm happy that his colleague has given his spare time to more than that scientific, and I love very much to numbers and to do programming. I think without monitor something, you will not manage to control it. So I wanted to give a way to monitor and also to give the best alternative solution to reach the optimum solution. And in the end, I want to relate all the studies to the 11th WCC, which means World Council of Churches Assembly theme in 2 years from now, because not only because I am working with them in the care for the environment, but I believe that this kind of collaboration between churches and politic institutions and academic institutions can really help to progress into a better world. So I started with my study at the Technical University of Crete many years ago, and we wrote a paper about criticizing the sustainability concept. So sustainability, an ill-defined concept, and its assessment using fuzzy logic. So at that time, sustainability was very, very restricted to economic sustainability. And people didn't realize that it's not economic solution or only technological solution which can define sustainability. So this paper was about to expand the notion of sustainability to include ecological, most of all, and the human sustainability. So including the air, land, water, biodiversity, and also in human sustainability about the political system, wealth system, health system, and knowledge system. We will see later on. But the original idea was based also on the biblical approach of sustainability in Genesis, which had given a kind of hierarchical dependency or interconnectedness of all these components of sustainability. Here, I don't want to stress on the hierarchy. I want just to stress on the interconnectedness. So without the one, the another could not exist. So I expand the concept of economy of life into the triune concept, which is based on the triune nature of human being as well. As human being is at the same time a physical being, it's a thinking being, and also it's a spiritual being. So economy of life for the common oikos should consider the common existential concept, which is a theocentric concept. The common physical concept is a cosmocentric, and the common household, which is anthropocentric concept. So the concept of economy of life for the common oikos is just based on the teaching of Jesus Christ, saying that Jesus Christ is coming to give an abundant life to all. So not only to human beings, but also to all creation. So in that sense, the economy of life refers to three interconnected but distinct concepts, which is biological sustainability, economic sustainability, and cosmic or ecological sustainability. That is just to use the academic and also the common language, but we should also get used with. So still about this concept of sustainability and the economy of life, at as I said, our mistake from my point of view is that sustainability was confined to its anthropocentric and cosmocentric only. And here I come to play the role of theology and spirituality. So the concept of including also the spiritual dimension of sustainability through human being. Now about greed and the grid line measurement. So greed is the unlimited desire to want more and more. This is the simplest definition of greed. And the Christian teaching is saying clearly that we have to take care against all kinds of greed. So this all kinds of greed is an important issue to explore more and more. Because, as I told before, when we talk about greed, our mind goes to economic greed, so just money and money. There are many, many kinds of greed that we will see later on also. And here I reported the sayings and recommendations from Gandhi and Stephen Hawking by telling that greed is among the most serious threat to the survival of our planet and human being. So here you see four leaders well known in religious institutions and also in the scientific institutions and journalists. They are all acknowledging that human greed can destroy life and can also be the major threat to our planet. So my idea was, if greed is so threatening, why not to deal with it more seriously? So this is only not on the national or planetary level, but also on individual level. So we try to analyze and explore more about greed within a small group at the WCC. So at that time we offered some definitions of greed, and we tried to collect some greed indicators that could be used to measure what we call structural greed. So the goal was always to be able to answer, am I greedy, or my society is greedy, or how greedy is the global economy, and so on. So we come up with a system how to measure it, so how to combine all these indicators using a scientific tool which is called fuzzy logic. I will not stay longer on that, but just to tell you that there are three components. We can combine the ecological, economic, and socio-political index or indicators into one index, which is called the Economy of Life Index. And we came up also with a paper on evaluating strategies for sustainable development, which is a proof of the feasibility to measure such concept using scientific tool, which is the fuzzy logic. So the same methodology was used, just we want to use another language, more attractive or less offensive to people and to church members. Instead of telling them, for instance, how greedy are you, we say how full is your life, or how happy do you feel. So it's just in the same money, but two corners. If we can show it in an equation, we can say Economy of Life Index is just the what you take from 100% fullness of life and what was taken by greediness. So when we measure the multi-structural greed index, we can measure also the economy of life index. This is the architecture of this scientific or mathematical calculations, and just to tell you that we can offer a concrete measurement which can be understood easily to people when we reach at the results. So we can represent the lifestyle of one people or one society in percentages of his economic greed or financial greed or ecological greed and social greed also. Sorry. The same on the national level and on individual level, we can do that. And we hope that like the poverty line, we can set also a grid line using all these calculations. So a grid line can be described as on the personal level, it's a personal consumption which can be obtained without negatively affecting the welfare of the society or the integrity of all creation. So the grid line as principle of sustainable growth concept is a different one because we don't run for the maximum profit. We run for the average or moderate optimum values. So it relates the eco-relational dimensions of life and not avoiding to reach the extreme values. So it is so simple, but not so easy to accomplish. So grid line and the 11 WCC assembly theme, the thinking is that eschatologically we can think that sustainability in the 21st century is comparable to the conversation between God and Abraham about the hope of Sodom and Gomorrah at that time. So the oikos, or the earth, has hope only when there are still righteous people. So people who are living under the grid line. And that is people who are standing firm in faith and walk with God. So Christians are called to share Christ's love and act daily for the unity and reconciliation of the world creation. So that is the WCC Assembly theme in 2020. So now I want to finish with ecological or environmental racism, which is the theme of all conferences or reflections of the WCC for this year. So here I want just to define and separate what we call individualistic ecological racism and institutional environmental racism. So individualistic ecological racism can be defined as actions or practices that have differential and negative impact on the environment of over individual belongings to another racial, ethnic, or economic class. This is a fact everywhere. This morning, for instance, I was a little bit annoyed by our neighbor because every morning they take their dogs and then leave there the excrement from the dog near to my car. So when it's dark, I go to my car. Sometimes I step on it. So that is for me individualistic ecological racism, because they don't leave their waste in their place. They walk. They don't live just close by, but about 200 meters from the home. So 200 meters from my home, I don't care. That is one aspect from my understanding of individualistic really ecological racism. Institutional environmental racism can be defined as the same: actions or practices carried out by members of dominant, here it's members of dominant racial or ethnic or socioeconomic class groups that have differential or negative impact on members of subordinate groups. And for this I will give you some example. For example, the toxic waste dumping in poor countries. I remember in Madagascar, the president was not elected because he refused to make an agreement with France and another powerful country to accept toxic waste. So this is a pressure that the poor country have from the dominant economics. And we know that also the effect of this waste and toxic hazard from pollutions that was caused from the others, from outside of your country, have very multifaceted, many different health effects also on the people. And here, I want also to stress on the plastic waste problem in our, here on Crete, in the beaches. Here I don't want to stress personal or to say you do that or not, but for instance, here I apologize for people from England, because most of the time the English tourists, they are very careful when they are in England, but when they are here, they throw away plastics, and I mean the youth, some groups of people, the media and also the community are very, how to say, complaining very much about their behavior. So it's just about, I would call ecological racism also, because, and the same for us the Greeks, when they are outside, living outside countries, they know exactly how to do with cigarettes and plastics and everything. But when they are here, they just throw away, we can see on the highway, it's full of garbages and plastics. That's a very bad news, but what's the fact that we have? And we can call it ecological racism, but we cannot understand it. So there's tons of plastic on the beaches. I took some pictures, and in the coast of the islands in the Pacific and also in the Latin America, tons of plastics and incredible waste are coming from the sea, and these are not coming from their plastics, but coming from the other continent away. So also the use of pesticides, for me, it's an aspect of environmental racism, because the factory who produces these pesticides, they don't use this bad pesticide in their countries. They're in poor countries most of all, and they are very careful about using biological in their own cultivations. And nowadays we have, for instance, the advisors of Donald Trump say that pesticides are not bad for the health of people, which is incredibly, I don't know how to imagine some cultivated people can say something like that. And the last, about the nuclear tests in third countries, this is also a very strong example of what we can call ecological racism. Most of the countries, powerful countries, they conducted their nuclear tests in far away from them, in the Pacific most of the time, and the Indian Ocean. And you can understand that the effect to the biodiversity, to the ocean, and also to the people nearby is devastating. So this is an updated February 2019 about nuclear tests in the third countries. And you can see that it's still very, very huge numbers, despite the activism and many, many actions against nuclear tests. So climate apartheid is real, and we cannot just forget about the strong word. I believe we can use strong word climate apartheid when it is so urgent and affecting so many poor people. Here's a photo of dumped radioactive waste found in Somalia, which is illegally doing, and the Greenpeace activists, they put it on the surface. So just to conclude, my conclusion is there is false hope, which is rooted on the trust in the wealth and in the power of technology. That is false sustainability. As Jesus said, one cannot worship two masters. And in the Matthew 6:24, and to achieve true sustainability, we need new alternative of growth concept and new sustainability indicators such as economy of life index, which includes more of spirituality and ethics. So it is time about us to think more seriously about greed and the unity and justice and peace that I call here the three pillars of sustainability of economy of life. So thank you very much. If someone is interested in studying greed line, we have published a book. I have a copy here, but I can recommend to you. It's interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Andrianos. The floor is open for questions. Can you raise your hand if you have a question? 1, 2. Okay, that's it. 3. Go ahead, please.
Very good question. Yes, it's dependent, and we use indicators per capita always in order not to be influenced by the populations. So every indicator should be normalized to be per capita. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you for a very good introduction. My question is, if you have in this process in WCC and your own research, have you been using also the concept of degrowth from WCC, which I find in many ways are corresponding to some of these thoughts?
Thank you. Yes. The concept of degrowth is really compatible with this research, because what we want is degrowth and divestment. So it is totally compatible, and we can use also as an indicator the rate or the performance in degrowth and divestment. Yes. The thing is, the good thing with this study is you can add and you can also change or remove indicators that you use. So depending on findings of other colleagues or new project, you can adapt the program and the project. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
So quickly, you gave a definition for the reason why in terms of maximum value relative to the welfare of society. Is that related to some kind of parental optimum in terms of the evaluation?
Yes, yeah, this is kind of the optimum with minimal risk to affect the welfare of the society and the creation. So the rationale is we evaluate the minimum and the maximum available statistics or achievement or technological performance, and then we decide not to function with the maximum, let's say in a car speed, but to work with the safety speed. So if my car is between 0 and 240, I will drive on 100, maximum 120, which is a thing that I really do. I'm a slow driver. Yes, I don't know if that answers your question. Yes, thank you.
Yes, please, Licia.
I noticed from the World Council of Churches that we don't have a very large representation of Roman Catholics because there's so many Roman Catholics in the world, right? But I just wanted to share with you that the global Catholic movement is a very good source for you to look at to see how they are bringing down the greed line and the investments that the churches, Roman Catholic churches and church properties are doing now, and it just might be helpful in the research. I don't know if you're aware of them, but I know that they're interested in greed also. You might supplement your research there, Lucas.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, I'm working very closely with the global movement of climate change people, because we work together in the Season of Creation Committee. And yeah, we did webinar, and we try also to explore concept of greed. But you are totally right, because we are just in the beginning of our, let's say, collaboration. We are now building the network to be stronger. Now we have the blessing of the Pope and the Ecumenical Patriarch, of course, and acknowledgement of more and more institutionalized religious and non-religious. So I hope, yeah, it will be developed more and more with our multi-faith also, yes.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. I close now the session, and I would like to invite our next speaker, who will be Ms. Anastasia Fedosueva from Russia. There she is.
How much time?
20 minutes?
20
Can
minutes.
you do that?
Okay. Good. Okay, hello guys. My name is Anastasia. I feel very grateful to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you very much to Professor Alan. So I was very happy to meet him on my tour of the Sustainable Tourism Company, and this job I found in Greece, in Crete. So if you don't know what to do, just go to Crete, and life will figure it out for you. So anyway, about my research. I'm going to tell you today about Buryat shamanism and Buddhism and environmental concerns of Lake Baikal region. And maybe I will answer how it's all connected. To give you an idea where Baikal is, so it's about 6,500 kilometers between Crete and Lake Baikal. Here to show you more. And this is just to give you an idea how big Baikal is. So we need 4 Crete islands, and it will be a Lake Baikal. So here you can see all the numbers. And if you would put Lake Baikal on the Sweden and Norway, so it will be like this. And Lake Baikal would cover just the whole Moscow, from Yaroslavl to Kaluga and Smolensk. Okay, and a little bit about Lake Baikal numbers. So it's the oldest lake on Earth, around 25 million years old. Yeah. And it's the deepest freshwater lake in the world. So the average depth is 758 meters and the maximum is 1600. And it's 633 kilometers long and 81 kilometers wide. So, and it's the largest freshwater lake by volume. So in case of global warming, all of us will need water, right? So let's better be friends with Asher. And guys, it's 23% of fresh water of the Earth. And now around 3 or 4 million people depend on the resources of the Lake Baikal. Also, Lake Baikal is an UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's a home for more than 2,500 species, and 2/3 of them is endemic. And you can see the beautiful Baikal Nerpa, and it only exists in the Lake Baikal. And of course, there are more than 330 rivers that flow into the Lake Baikal, but the only one flows out, and it's named Angara. And the Buryat people call it daughter of Lake Baikal, and it flows out to his boyfriend Yenisei River. So a little bit about methodology. Of course, we reviewed environmental literature and reviewed literature on Buddhism and shamanism and interviewed Buryat environmentalists, Buddhists, shamans, and experts on sustainable tourism. So Lake Baikal has a lot of environmental concerns, unfortunately. You can see that their list is here, but in my work I didn't focus on all of them because it will be simply impossible. What I did: over-tourism, trash, landfills, forest fires, and a little bit about liquid waste, but mostly about over-tourism because I work in sustainable tourism company. Yep. Okay, here. Maybe you want to see more of my amazing video, but later you will watch it in my documentary. But now we run out of time. So yeah, you saw a landfill, and it's a 40 years old landfill, and most of the Lake Baikal region has a lot of like unofficial landfills, and there is no proper waste management system in this region. So basically, locals and tourists just throw garbage like anywhere, and yeah, Alan also saw it, unfortunately. So, Lake Baikal inhabited by Buryats. Who is the Buryats? Have you ever heard of Buryats? No? So it's Mongolian-speaking tribe, and now they speak Mongolian dialect Buryat language, but now it's official language of Buryat Republic, which is in the Russian Federation. They are nomads. They used to live in gears, in open steppes, so they were very connected with nature, but not now. And it's the biggest indigenous group of the Lake Baikal. There are more than 500,000 Buryats nowadays. And their religion is shamanism and Buddhism, approximately half-half. So, and my friends, my Buryat friends, sent us a warm greetings. So a short video from them.
Grecia, тебе
Hello,
привет.
Greece. Hello, from Siberia. Lake Baikal.
Lake Baikal. Пока-пока.
So yeah, this is Dada Misha or Uncle Misha and Faina, and we will see some interviews with her later. They work in sustainable tourism since 2002, so they have a lot to say about it. And also, of course, they're representative of Buryat culture. I'm going to also talk a little bit of planned East Siberia Pacific Ocean oil pipeline. So our government planned to have an oil pipeline through Lake Baikal. Crazy, yes? And there is one brave woman, Svetlana Badoeva. She's a Buryat Buddhist. She used to work in the parliament of Russian Federation. So she was like very top. But her father asked her, daughter, please save Lake Baikal, because this pipeline would just destroy the whole lake. And she was working many years on that case, and finally they succeeded. But after that, she had to leave Russia, and she was living in Tibet for like 7 years, and she was following Dalai Lama. But it's just to give you an idea how hard it is to be environmental activist in Russia, and sometimes it is dangerous for your life. So, but thank you to this beautiful and brave lady, Svetlana. She basically saved Baikal, yes. But of course, interview will be in the documentary later, so I'm just keeping you excited, guys. Let's see what Buryat Buddhism, what kind of view has Buryat Buddhism on the nature? What kind of relationship between Buryat Buddhists and their nature? So they believe in interdependence of all living beings. And basically all their interactions with nature is like they're following this idea. So if you go to nature, like go to forest, and for example, if you pick up some berries, you need to ask for permission of the forest spirits, and like you need to give a gift to the nature, because you're taking nature's gift, so kind of to keep a balance, you give something back. Of course, you do not feed nature with sweets or like with ribbons, you know maybe about these Buryat traditions, but it's just to give you an idea. And this knowledge is passed from generation to generation, from like father to daughters, grandparents to their grandchildren. Yep. So yes, also a little bit about Buryat people. So again, it's a nomadic tribe, and they used to live in gears. So they were dependent on the nature sources. They were living in nature. All their life was about nature. But now the distance between people and nature is much wider, and they like separated themselves. So that's why there is no a connection anymore with modern Buryats. Some of them understand that they harm nature, yes, but most of them don't even think about it, because it's just normal to live in concrete buildings, yes, never go outside, never see like the real nature, because all the food comes from the stores, right? Why would they need to go and collect berries, for example? Yes, so basically now people and Buryat, modern people, they protect themselves from nature, and especially from harsh conditions in Siberia. Maybe you know it's going to be like, can be like -40, -50 easily. And Buddhists, they think that the main reason for ecological problems, and because people do not feel this connection, they don't think about it, they don't feel it, and also, of course, the reason because they do not live now like they used to live many years ago. So we remember this concept, and now we go in to shamanism. So also Buryat Buddhism has a lot of like traditions from Buryat shamanism, of course, so they're very close to each other. And my friend, Buryat shaman, that I was lucky to meet on a train when we were traveling with Alan. So it's all just happened, but nothing happened without a reason, right? So he said that we can use all benefits of the modern world, of the technical progress, but we need to help nature in the same time. So if we take something, we need to give back. So it's, again, the same idea about the balance, like we saw in the Buddhism. Also, our shaman friend said that people need now to wake up. We need to rethink how we treat nature, how we, everything we take from nature, we should bring back and preserve it for our children. Because the same thing did our grandparents for us. They saved it for us, now it's our turn to save it. Also, a quick remark, he said sea. Locals, they never call Lake Baikal lake. It's going to be an insult. They say sea or grandfather Baikal. So that's why he said that the biggest problem for their sea is a tourist, over tourism. And people, like tourists, leave a lot of garbage. And you saw some of the examples of how beautiful Baikal forest, taiga forests look like. So they throw plastic, they use all shampoos, but people, of course, don't think about it because it's just a normal, like, is it bad to take a shower? But when you take a shower with your phosphate shampoos, it's go all into the Lake Baikal because there is no proper waste management system and all organic waste as well. Yep, and shaman says that tourists usually come just for 3 months. And the amount of garbage is just unbelievable. And usually volunteers and locals, they try to clean up everything, but still it's not enough. Yep. And why is it so? I think that maybe because people do not understand that this Lake Baikal is a sacred place for them. It's like a holy lake. It's not just a lake for them, it's their grandfather. It's something that teach them, that give them food, water, provide them with everything. So they treat them like something that has a life, right, a soul. And I believe if we will have more education about it, if we talk more to people, tourists who go to this region, maybe it will be less amount of garbage. Maybe they even won't throw any garbage, and they will leave no footprints after themselves. So it's going to be sustainable way, yep. And also sustainable tourism, it's a great way to develop the region. I'm going to talk about it also later with our expert, Faina. Yes, but also important remark that we cannot judge people. Of course, tourists harm their place, their nature, but they say we cannot judge them. It doesn't matter, tourists, businessmen, politicians, we are all humans. And we need to remember that. Yes, so if they do not judge people, I also have no right to judge. And yeah, as I said, they now just think if our grandparents saved it for us, now it's our turn. Now we need to save this beautiful lake, not only for us, but I think the rest of the world will need some fresh water in the future. Yes, so from words to action. There are many people now who work in sustainable tourism in the Lake Baikal. And this is one of our friends, Faina. And she gave me an interview and told about her projects and about what they are doing. So also she mentioned that all the Buryat traditions, they always teach them that never harm nature, never leave any garbage. So it's just natural for them. But unfortunately, it was not like something that all tourists and guests who come into them understand. And that what this made them really upset, let's say it like this. And she mentioned about a Venki tribe. It's a small tribe that live also by Lake Baikal. And when they enter the taiga forest, they always ask a permission from the forest spirits. And they always need to be grateful for all nature gifts that they take from the forest and that nature gives them. And this idea was passed from generation to generation. Yep. And also she had a project called Preserve Sacred Places. And basically they taught people about importance of this region and how sacred this place for locals. And she said that we can fix this problem if we're going to talk about it, because if we're aware of the problem, it's part of the solution, right? And if we're going to teach and educate children, sometimes adults also need education, right? So if we teach everyone, we can we can have beautiful nature, developed area, and life is going to be good. Like Shaman said, life is going to be pleasant on Earth. And yeah, so I'm just going to now show you a short video about our homestay, and I'm going to talk a little bit about sustainable tourism. Do I have time? What
No.
time?
No.
No?
Just 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes, okay, good. So just a regular Buryat village, Большое Голоусное, by the lake Baikal. And this is their house. So Faina and her son, they're singing traditional Buryat songs. Yeah, super quick. So it was basically an example of sustainable tourism. What it is, you stay with locals, money goes directly to local community, and you support local communities. It gives locals jobs, so they do not need to work in forestry production and cut down trees, right? And it's very interesting. It's exchange, it's culture exchange, both for tourists and for them as well. We all learn from each other. And also, if they will learn about their culture and about their treatment to Lake Baikal, they would never leave any garbage, right? So, I want to finish my talk with my shaman friends' words that when many people gather together and when they do one big action, they can succeed. So basically, that's what happened right now. We gather together and we want the same thing, right? We want a happy, sustainable life. Yep. And yes, as a shaman, he said, let all priests all over the world gather together and pray and set good and positive thoughts, and then there will be a friendship. So I'm sending my positive thoughts to you guys. And in the end, I'm going to show you some of the shaman ritual that he did for me and my group. And yeah, just take a look. Good job, well done.
Так, я стою, солнце пошло, вот, видишь, на шею пошли. На шею, еле. Иди сюда. Наша, иди наша. Полный вдох, выбрось.
So, shaman just cleaned me out from all bad energy. So on this positive note, I want to say thank you very much, guys. Спасибо and Evharista for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. Are there any questions? Please raise your hands. One, two, three. Okay, 3 questions. I'll start with Peter.
First of all, thank you, Anastasia. Very interesting.
Thank you, Peter.
My question is, if I understand well, you say that sustainable tourism is a problem. When tourists come to live with local people, they may help to learn from each other, etc., etc. My question is, would this imply that the local people, they have some kind of waste management, and the real problem are in these tourists who do not follow that?
So yeah, a remark that
Can you
not
speak to the
sustainable,
mic?
not sustainable tourism is a problem, but just I would say like a regular tourism, because when it's sustainable, it means that you like do not harm the place where you're staying. Yep. So you asked about the waste management system, yes? Of local people, yes. There is like a not proper waste management system, and locals, they just have like some sort of organized landfill, yes. But they do not throw it like in their village on a sea, like on a Baikal shore or in the forest. so the problem is that now a lot of like nature sites are polluted. So this is the one problem, and of course also big problem that since it's over tourism, a lot of like phosphates, a lot of like all the waste goes into the Lake Baikal because locals, they do not produce so much waste. Yeah, am I answering your question?
Licia, please.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Really, really proud, and I always like to uplift these young ones who take a lot of courage to come here, and I want to thank you for your wonderful presentation. I just, you know, when you were talking about Buddhism and the consequential event that they had to the action, do you see any linkage between that and what Sister THEOLOGY said yesterday?
Yes, yeah, of course. That's why I was like, oh my God, she just answered my question. Yes, because every choices matter. Every choice you're making, it will have an influence. So basically that's what like Buddhist and shaman says, but in different words. So basically we're talking about same idea, but in different words, because just our thoughts and mentalities are different, right? But we want the same thing, so yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Have you got any Buddhistic prayers or programs which you make together with local people? Or do you have any plan for making that? Because it can have to focus on lines and you can have infrastructure for
So yeah, there is one cool company that I'm working in, and we already have some tours, and it's always sustainable and eco-friendly. But now, since our government is not moving towards an eco-friendly and sustainable development, like the Russian tourism industry is not sustainable at all, and all the infrastructure as well. But there are some like sustainable companies in Russia, and they are like, like this sustainable tourism is getting more popular in Russia. Yep. So, and I'm also working on it to spread awareness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. I would like now to close this session and give the floor to Lucas, because he has some announcements to make.
So before we close the session and the morning part, I would like to call for your intention that we intend to make a declaration, kind of call from this conference, which is expected to be as formal as we can and as informative as we can. So I have sent to you this morning a draft of this declaration. So it is only to show you how is the structure. So we start with a description of the conference and referring to the current event, or referring to different statements and the previous conference. And then we pass to recommendations and call, which include the output of our conference. So here, I want you to send to me at least one paragraph by email. So please send to me and copy to Andonis Kalogerakis, so that no email will be disregarded somewhere. We wait for your email, one paragraph, to be included in this declaration. You are free to recommend suggestions or additions or change, or because some of you are native English-speaking native people, which is very helpful for us. Some of you are from a very different background in terms of cultural background or scientific background or theological background. So we need all of that to be reflected in our declaration. So I would not talk more about it, but it will be our task for at least the following 2 weeks. So I understand that some of you might continue their journey or will stay here for 1 more week. I think 2 weeks is good enough, because we have also to send the press release from this conference, and it would be good to include the declaration, or at least a link to refer to them. So please help us, help one another to be successful in that sense, at least. I hope you enjoyed the conference, and for me, I'm very happy in terms of my objectives and in terms of individual satisfaction. I hope from every one of you, we tried our best to offer you what we can, to enjoy the place, to enjoy the food, to enjoy the hospitality. We apologize for the some uncomfortable situations, like the timing not very exact. Like we in Greece, we struggle on that. We are not yet on the European, Norwegian standards of time. Because, yeah, this morning I was late 1 or 2 minutes, and then I was about to miss the beginning. So thank you for your understanding, and I really, really hope it is not the end of our collaborations and kind of networking, but may God give us health and willing to offer to the society and to our neighbors. So the last message is we should love our creation as ourselves, from the domain message. So thank you again on behalf of everyone. If you have something to say or to add, now it's a good moment. And I express again my thanks for all of you for your kind attention. It was not easy at all, the program, because we tried to condense everything. Some people want to leave earlier because of duties and economic constraint also. The same for me. I have to coordinate many things at the same time, family and jobs and everything. But we thank God, I think we managed. And I give the last word to my colleague, and I want to thank him especially because he is the head of all of this. I am the foot and the small hand. So the following of the program this afternoon will be coordinated by Andonis Kalogerakis. And last thanks to our professor and director of Technical University of Crete. He is a very, very, how to say, inspiration to us. As I told you, we were his student, so now we are still happy to have him with us here. Thank you.
So I will be very fast. We have to thank Lucas for starting the idea of ECOTHEE and for having, it was our pleasure once again to cooperate with you and all that. the house of ECOTHEE is the Orthodox Academy of Crete, and as we are a house of all of you, may I say that this was an interesting journey that you had during all these days, during all this program that we had. We started with the message of His Whole Holiness, the Ecumenical Patriarch, discussing about how we're going to make eco-friendly our civilization, and this was actually a very strong message. I think that we have to point that out. And also during our excursions yesterday, we have seen how the monasteries have the idea of the environment not as an activism, but as an act for their everyday life. It's in them, actually. And I think it's an excellent paradigm, an excellent example, excellent ideas also for us in order to adopt this way of working, of respecting the creation by any means. It's our responsibility also that as members of the church, as Christians, as members as humans, actually, to adapt these ideas, because we don't have to expect somebody else to do something. We have to. We are the ones that we have to do our duty for the environment, and also to adopt more and more environmental programs. The Dean of the Technical University of Crete, Professor Diamandopoulos, have shown us all his initiatives at the university, and actually imagine that we can adapt also this kind of ideas in our parishes. So we can empower the environmental role and give the right message to all the people that we cooperate, that we interact. Last but not least, we have one more excursion. It's the last one today. So it will be at 2:30. The bus will be waiting for us to go to the winery. It will be an experience of a lifetime. It was actually, you have not done it in previous ECOTHEEs, but I think that this time it will be interesting to see all the steps that we follow in order to produce the wine. And you can be a part of it, actually. You will see. It's a small surprise. And see also, because this is the same procedure for many years now, how our grandmothers, grandfathers were following these steps, and they're very close to the environment. They had the respect in their environment, in their hearts, in their souls. They not that had the science, but they had the feeling of no waste. There was the feeling to respect the animals, respect the nature. So once again, I have to thank you all for being here. Once again, and actually we want to renew our commitment to meet again in the next ECOTHEE conferences and have all the pleasure as a team to work together. We're open to ideas and for cooperations. European projects can be an idea like that, as we're coming from different universities all over the world and of course Europe, and find some keys in order to work together and be as close as possible. Thank you so much for being here in our academy. It was an honor to have you all here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Allow me to speak on behalf of all the participants here, I'm sure I'll speak on behalf of all the participants here to thoroughly thank both you and you for the organization and all the work you had. And we thank from the bottom of our hearts the whole staff of the Academy for the excellent hospitality, food, and everything that was arranged. Thank you very much.
So we give a last clap to Mr. Takis for technical assistance.